Hello, my name is George, and today I'm going to be walking through a full stack web application I made. This web app allows users to create an account, log in, and log their Counter-Strike investments to a SQL database. This web application will also update the current prices of users' items so that they're able to track um, the value of their investments in real time. It doesn't have to be done manually, and it doesn't have, so it does that for a user. So um, I'm first going to walk through the site first, and then I'll walk through the code, which will be in the description. But just for people who just want a quick overview of the site, this is what I'm going to do first. So when we go to the IP, server IP, and the port, we're going to get redirected to the login page here. Since we do not have an account yet, I'm going to go ahead and select register. We have a quick message that is put up here saying that passwords are hashed, so that means they can't be accessed by me or anyone else, or they can't be really reset either. So, well, they can be, but I guess it'd be difficult. If you'd like to use this website without creating a user, it gives us a username and password to get in there. But since we are testing out this how this works, we'll go that. Actually, I'm going to incorrectly type one of these in just so we can see the error message pop up. So we'll go ahead and, oh, actually, if we do this, this will tell us the username is already taken. So if we try to register guest, I guess it's just going to be the same thing, but just so you can see that. So that functionality works. That's good. So we're going to do test two since I've done this a couple times at this point. And we'll register. Okay, now we're redirected to the login page. We use this account that we just made. We'll log in. And now we're taken to the index page, the home page. Here we have this gray bar here, which is going to populate with the data that we add to it. We have this total box here, which is just going to total items for us. And this section here, we have the functionality, a search functionality, able to search on the item name. We have an add item button, which is used to add items. And we also have this message right up here that says when the database was last updated. And the database is updated every 2 hours, and it takes the current price for all the user items and repopulates it. So these all get changed so users can find the full price or the full value of all their items that are entered into the database. So here we go. We just press the add item button, and a row will populate which says which fields are required. We'll just be clicking into this. So the link, number of items, cost per item, and the date is what's required. Everything else will be populated. If you want to enter a name different from what comes from the link, you can do that. But let's go ahead and go to the market. We'll go ahead and select an item. Copy the link. We're just going to go to the graph and see this. If so, November of 2022, you still have $4 just to get a good price. Number of items, 500. Cost per item, 4/11/2022. I just wanted to get a cost per item that was close, but you don't have to do that. There's nothing that checks that. We'll go ahead and press the save button, and we get a message up here that says our item was added successfully. If, for example, we didn't like the name of the item, or maybe we wanted to add a tag to this, we can go ahead if we wanted to. Well, there's already enough tags. We just put test here. We can press this green button, and we'll save the item. We want to remove that. Maybe we can go like this. If we thought, oh no, we actually bought this item for $350, we can go ahead and click save. When we did that, all of these numbers get recalculated. So if we just look at it now, the total return is almost 100%. If we change it back to 4, which we had it at originally, and we press save, this drops down. So that is all working correctly. If for you accidentally type in some sort of characters with your number or anything, you will get a message up here that says cost per item, current price, and number of items must be characters. So then it reverts back to what we had before. If we want to delete this item, we can go ahead, let me just copy this. We'll go ahead and press this red button, which will delete the item. We'll add it back. Cost per item, we did 4. And this obviously resets as well, which is good. And press save, and we get our item added successfully. So that's how this works. These current prices will be updated every 2 hours, and all you'd have to do here is log into your account, and everything, all of these items here would be updated. So I'm going to go ahead and log out and log into our guest account, just so you can kind of see. This is what a more full table would look like. Here we have the scroll ability. So once you add over a certain number of items, you'll be able to scroll so that this back page is never larger. You'll never have to scroll this back page. This won't be able to scroll. It'll only be the table. So that's kind of nice that you won't, if you add, 100 items, you won't have to scroll down forever to get to your total box. It will just always be displayed on the page. And I think that's everything. We already went through the delete and edit buttons. We already went through how to add items. If you don't want to add an item, you go ahead and press this red X. One feature that's pretty interesting, or it was fun to implement, was when you select another row, these buttons go back away. So it's there's event listeners that are used in JavaScript to kind of put that functionality in there. So it just comes up on the row that you're testing. Oh, if we do want to test the functionality for the search, I forgot. Go ahead and search Stockholm. And this will do a SQL query, which is sent through an API using JavaScript to the backend so that the entire website is not refreshed. It's only refreshing this table here. It's not refreshing the entire web page itself. So we'll go back to Stockholm. And when you filter or search for an item, these totals will be updated. So if we add up these items here, we get 225, and the total return percentage, dollar value will all be updated as well. So that's how this functionality works. If you want to take it off, research that. And I think that is everything. So that's how this website works. And now I'm just going to be quickly also walking through the code. Okay, so this code here is here on GitHub, and it is, as I said before, or I don't know if I said it or not, it is written in Python, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and the Python for the backend, we're using Flask, and so that's what is being used. In our static directory, we have images, which the only image is just this logo up here. We have our JavaScript file, which is used to anything that is kind of like displayed on the page with those buttons, those event listeners, the add item, the update, the search functionality, that's all incorporated using JavaScript. We have our CSS, which is just the style of the web page. It is nice. I'm not very good with HTML and CSS, so this uses a lot of Bootstrap, which makes things a lot simpler, a lot more simple. And then we have our templates directory, which contains all our HTML files. And because we're using Flask, or one of the benefits of using Flask, I guess, is using Jinja. And Jinja is used to take these the layouts of the page. So as for example, this nav bar is always going to be here on every single page. The background is always going to be the same. And this is done using Jinja, so I don't have to copy and paste each time the code. So if we go look at, first we look at layout.html, which contains our HTML, the entire HTML tag. So all of it's here. And what we do is we just take those other HTML pages and they're just going to be put into this main section. Or it's actually technically this is taken over into those HTML, and then we add the main block into that. So this code is just the background, the navigation bar that's at the top. If the user's authenticated, will show only a logout. If the user is not authenticated, it'll be login and register, which are these buttons up here. So once we register, you'll see that the logout button comes up instead of login. All right. And then we go to another page, for example, index, and this here is Jinja code that says we're going to be extending layout.html, which takes all of those headers and the navigation bar and all that information is HTML code is put in this when we go to index.html. Then we insert this code block here into main. So that's what this was doing when we looked at that code block in layout.html. And then here, JavaScript is used to populate the data for both the main table and then for the totals table. So that's templates. Then we have our database last updated, which is a TXT file, which was the text that was displayed that displays when the database was last updated. We have our inventory SQLite file, which we'll actually look at here. So this is I'm connected to the I'm connected to the server where the website is hosted. And if we do SQLite, do I need 3? I think I need 3. Inventory SQLite. We will enter in here and we do schema. Here are the 2 tables that are in the SQLite database. We have a login table and an inventory table. Hopefully this is big enough, but in the login table, we have a user ID, which is the foreign key to kind of connect to the inventory table. We have a username, which is tested when you're trying to log in. We have a hash password so that the passwords are not stored in plain text. It's a hash of the password. Then we have our inventory table where we have all the data that is displayed on that table. This inventory table, the primary key is item number, and how this table works is you actually can enter the same item in twice, since there's a lot of different users. Hypothetically, there's a lot of different users that would be using it. You want users to be able to put in their items a number of times. So we actually have a user ID here. So when we're populating the table, once the user logs in, we're just going to get the inventory items that match with that user ID, where the user ID equals the user's ID. And then when the database is being updated, instead of looping through every item in the SQL database, we take a unique query or distinct query on item link. So all items that are entered into the database are going to all the duplicate items. So like if user 1 and user 10 both have the same item, they're both going to have the same item link. That is going to be the same for both of those items. The item number is going to be different. The user ID is going to be different. The name could be different if the item name could be different if the user changes the item name, but the item link should, it has to be the same in order for the prices to be updated. So that is how prices are updated, is through the item link. So we take a query for unique item links, we loop through those unique item links, and then we set the current price equal to whatever it is where that item link equals item link. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too confusing and I explained it properly. But that's the SQL table. Then we have main.py, which contains our Flask app and all of our routes. We also have what was kind of cool, this login required decorator that is attached to some routes. So this is the index route, and which populates the table, but you have to be logged in order for the table to be populated or to use any of the functionality. So that's what's put in here. But for example, the login route doesn't have that because you can't be required to log in if you can't log in. So that's what that does. And then we have a whole bunch of other routes and then also APIs for the JavaScript files to use to interact with the backend so that it can update the index or the home page. We have requirements.txt file, which just contains the libraries that are used to run this app. We have the update prices.py file, which this is run in a separate terminal. So I'll show that here. And this is just ABS scheduler, and it's run every 2 hours. And we run the update prices function that is in the utils file. And that's what this does. So if we go here, we leave SQLite, I think it's quit. And we do tmux ls. And we have, there's our window, attached session. Oops, update inventory. Here, this terminal is running, a detached terminal is running using tmux, and it updates the database, as you can see, approximately every 2 hours. I guess it's off by a couple seconds, but every 2 hours, the database is being updated. And when we logged in, we saw 11:24, which was the time that was displayed right here. So that's how that's done. It's using that txt file. Then we go ahead and leave that, and that will continue running. And then also, just to show this, we have supervisor CTL status. And this is the CS app. This is kind of how what we use to manage that. And then we use gunicorn to launch the app, and then nginx for the reverse proxy. Okay. And then the utils file. The utils file just contains some functions that are used in main.py. Pretty much all the functions. We have a db select function. So instead of having to create a connection, create a cursor for every single SQL query I want to do, and then having to close it each time, we made this function, or I guess I made this function where I can just run this function, put my query into it, put my params into it, and I will get a list of dictionaries right here. So a list comprehension of dictionaries of that, whatever the result of my query. And then the same thing is done for update. So this one is just for select, where we're going to be returning a result. Here, this one is a little bit more simple for updating or deleting queries. And then this is the login required decorator that we looked at before. It just requires a user to log in. I haven't really worked much with decorator functions, but I read about this one and it was pretty interesting. This is how we use get the name from the link. We just use this unquote function after taking the last part of the link. So here's the name right here, and we use unquote to strip kind of those characters that are not needed. Get price. This is the request that is sent to get the price of the, and then the decode to just send the request to this target URL and get the price of the current price of the item. Update data. This function is run every single time a user edits an item, so that the total cost, total value, total return dollar, those are updated each time a user changes an item. Update inventory prices is what's run to update the inventory. So here, like we said before, we're selecting distinct item links from inventory, and then we loop through each item link, and we set the current price to, oh yeah, we get the price here. We get the price, and then we set the current price for each item that's done. And then we have to update the data for each item so that's done. So this first loop here loops through each item and each link, each unique link, and updates the current price. And then this loop here, or there's two loops, but this the whole loop will update the data. So you update the current price, and then you have to update the total value. Then you have to update the total return dollar percent and everything like that. So that's where that's done. And each one has to be done uniquely because everyone has a different total cost, or will most likely have a different total cost. And that's everything. That should be it. That should be everything. So if you want to run this on your local device, you just go here. Once this is the same thing. Oh, there is a keys. I'll get that. I open this. There is a keys.py file, and that is used in the main file at the top. This is just used for session management or cookie management. Yeah, session management. This was just a part of the documentation that I read about, but I believe if you're just running it on your local device, you can go ahead and delete this. I just used it was just like a simple function to generate it. It's not, you don't have to register or do anything. It's just a string of characters and numbers. But I actually have it running still on your local machine. But if you want to do this, all you have to do is add app.run to the bottom and save that, and then do Python main.py, and that will go ahead and start the app on your local device. So here, this is running on my local device. This is running on the server. And here I already have those ones. You have to register, re-register, because it's not going to carry over. The database is going to be different. But that's how that's done. So the code will be in the description, and feel free to leave any comments with any questions. Thank you.